Welcome to the Excruciating Minutiae Podcast, where we obsess about sports, pop culture, and politics, but mostly sports. Here are your hosts, Randy and Steven.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Excruciating Minutia. I'm Randy. I'll be joined shortly by Steven. Before we begin, I'll ask everybody listening to please go ahead and check us out at excruciatingpodcast.com, where you can find links to all the different places you can listen to us. Normally, we have a topic at hand that is specific that we delve into. Today, we're going to be going a little bit off topic. I guess we could call this Off Topic Tuesday, since that's when this will probably be uploaded. Lots of little things that we can talk about today, things making the news, things in sports, things in regular pop culture or entertainment or world news, just a potpourri, if you will, Stephen, of things we can delve into today.
Well, I'd like to wish you a happy President's Day today, as we're taping this on Monday.
Happy President's Day to you, too, where I believe we, in the words of a comedian a long time ago, we honor our founding fathers and the greats like Lincoln and Washington with a mattress sale. Or a furniture sale or something, because that's the way you do it, right?
I did buy a new sofa this weekend, in fact.
There you go.
Not even making that up. Actually bought a sofa this weekend. So
Lincoln would be proud.
Yes, he would. I wanted to share something that I saw on NOLA.com today.
Okay.
And it talks about, in advance of President's Day, a U.S. history quiz was written by the Woodrow Wilson National Fellowship Foundation. On their website, some 41,000 Americans took it, with what they described as dismal results. Even in the state with the best performance, Vermont, only 53% of the respondents passed the quiz. The state in last, with 28% passing, is the great state of Louisiana, which is where you reside.
Wow, I have a feeling that was coming. Yay for us.
Yes, yay for you. Go Cajuns. So today, I'm going to give you the quiz.
You're putting me on the spot.
I'm not putting you on the spot. I am giving you the opportunity to redeem the state of Louisiana. It is all on your shoulders.
How many percent you said passed the test down here?
28%.
Were they drinking when they took it? Because, Mardi Gras is coming up. So were they intoxicated?
I'm going to assume yes, because it's Louisiana.
And they're always intoxicated in Louisiana. Not everybody, but, apparently a large number may have been, or not paying attention. 20? That's embarrassing. Actually, what'd you say the number was on the top state?
Vermont was at 53%.
That's embarrassing. Unless this is like, and I'm speaking out of turn because I tend to consider myself a bit of a history buff and somewhat of a reasonably intelligent person. So I may go out and embarrass myself if this test is really hard. All right, let's do this. Let's just jump right into this.
20 questions.
What do I win if I pass?
You win the adoration of the rest of the nation. You will basically redeem the whole state of Louisiana.
What's the passing score on this?
That I'm not sure.
I was going to say, are we going to use like the old school, 70% passes you like when I was in school, or are we going to go by lower standards, or are you grading this on a curve? Do I just need to beat the state of Louisiana to be like tops?
No, you need to pass. There's 20 questions. All right. I have faith in you.
All right.
Okay. Question number 1. Why did the American colonists fight the British? A, because of financial crisis. B, to free the African slaves. C, to help free Native Americans. D, because the British Army occupied their houses.
Okay. It was not to free slaves. It was not to free Native Americans. Those were not that. I don't want to say occupation.
Okay. All right. Question number 2.
Financially, hold on a second.
We're not going to. This
isn't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I didn't get is that your final answer?
Yes, it is.
I'm thinking here. I'm thinking out loud.
Phone a friend.
You are the friend. I can't phone you. We're talking. I mean, the financial crisis thing was, we did have the Tea Party, but I think it was more over, I wouldn't say it was occupation of their literal houses, but it was British occupation and wanting to be free of British occupation and freedom. So I'll go with that one. So I'm sticking with that. All right, sticking with my guns. Next question. Let's move on. Bill Belichick would say, on to question number 2.
Exactly. Question number 2. There are 4 amendments in the Constitution on who may vote in U.S. elections. Which of these describes one of those amendments? A, only citizens with a job may vote. B, citizens 18 years and older may vote. C, citizens 17 years and older may vote. Or D, only citizens by birth may vote.
This one I know. This one I feel confident on. 18 years and older, citizens may vote.
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer. It's definitely not ones with a job. That's definitely not the case.
Okay.
I know the age thing because I voted before. So I remember casting my first vote as an 18-year-old in the 1988 presidential election. God, I just dated myself right there, didn't I? But there you go. All right, let's move on.
Question number 3. How many amendments does the U.S. Constitution have? A, 26. B, 30. C, 24. D, 27.
E, a lot. Is that an answer?
That is not an option.
This is going to be a guess because those numbers are all like really close to one another. Aren't multiple choice tests supposed to have at least one answer you can immediately eliminate? Where's like 5 in that answer group? What are they again? Repeat them.
They are 26, 30, 24, and 27.
It's in the 20s. I know it's not 30. I'll go with 26. That is my final answer.
Okay. Question number 4. Before he became president, Dwight Eisenhower was an Army general. In what war did he fight? A.
Don't even give me multiple choice on this one. I'm just answering this one.
Okay.
I'm answering this one.
Okay.
Because it was World War II. Because he was not only a general, but he was, I do believe, the head commanding officer of all Allied forces in Europe during World War II. So I'm confident. I don't even care what the other multiple choice are. Just put me for World War II on that one.
You sure he wasn't in the Civil War?
If he was somebody's sperm at the time. That's definitely not that. Is that one of the choices?
Yeah, it is one of the choices, yes.
Okay.
Your 4 choices are World War II, the American Civil War, the Spanish-American War, and World War I.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not World War I, Vietnam War.
Vietnam? He was president like before Vietnam even really got into gear. He didn't Benjamin Button his career. He didn't go backwards.
He was in office when we first got involved in Vietnam in 1953.
I already knew it was World War II, but again, I really know it's World War II when you give me those other choices. So, all right.
Question number 5. Who was president during World War I? Do you need your choices or do you know offhand?
I'm pretty sure I know, but I'd like to hear them just to make sure that I'm not misthinking.
Here are your options. Abraham Lincoln.
No.
Herbert Hoover. Woodrow Wilson. And Franklin Roosevelt.
All right. Lincoln was Civil War and obviously nowhere near World War I. Thanks to John Wilkes Booth, he wasn't getting anywhere close to that. Franklin Roosevelt was World War II, famously mentioning the day that will live in infamy. His quote after the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor, according to John Belushi in Animal House, but even though we know it was the Japanese. It was not Herbert Hoover, it was Woodrow Wilson, who actually, and here's the trivia point for anyone who wants to know, Woodrow Wilson, who was very instrumental in the formation of the League of Nations following World War I, which was the predecessor to the United Nations and was supposed to keep any world wars from ever happening again, except the United States was one of the countries who didn't join it because our House and Senate didn't ratify the treaty. So that kind of didn't work out so well for us, as it turned out in the end. But definitely Woodrow Wilson on that one. I'm even giving additional information here. Do I get bonus points for any of this?
You don't get bonus points for that, so don't even bother.
Even if that info's right?
You know what that is? That's excruciating minutia.
It is,
there, my friend.
It is, but great trivia for anyone listening at home, or information, potentially.
If you want more trivia about Woodrow Wilson, he also was the president of Princeton and a complete racist. But that's another story. Question number 6. What is one right or freedom granted by the First Amendment?
This one you don't even need to give me options.
Okay.
That's the main one. That's freedom of speech. That's the reason we're able to get on to this podcast and make fun of terrible NFL coaches or GMs or bad entertainers or people who don't know their U.S. history, because we have the right to free speech, right?
As of now, we do.
Out of curiosity, again, maybe I'm wrong. What are our other options on the First Amendment?
Life, bear arms, and land ownership.
I would bet that people missing this one, again, assuming I'm right on this one, probably would answer life, because everybody remembers the whole life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
There is no guarantee to life in the Constitution, nor in any of the amendments.
That's why I went with speech. Onwards.
Question 7. Which one of these wars was fought by the United States in the 19th century? The Mexican-American War, the Korean War, World War I, World War II.
19th century, so that's 1800s.
That is correct.
So read them again.
Mexican-American War, Korean War, World War I, World War II.
Mexican-American War. World War I was in the 19 teens. World War II, officially, the U.S. joined in 41, I believe, but that was 39 to 45. Korean War, I believe, started in 1950. Mexican-American War, well, that was pre-Civil War. That's where we acquired all those lands in the Southwest, New Mexico and Arizona and the fine states down there. That was right after the Texas independence. So that was pre-Civil War. That's your 19th century war.
Maybe that's when they should have built the wall.
Well,
I'm sorry. On that tangent I might not have wanted to go off on, but whatever. There may have been some day drinking involved today. Question number 8. There were 13 original states. Select the answer that names 3 of them. Okay? So I'm going to name 3 states together, but only one of these combinations of 3 states actually were one of the original 13 states / colonies.
I might need a pen and paper for this, or a map.
New Jersey, New York, New Hampshire.
So 3 new states. Wait, those can't be original states. They're all new. How could those be original? Wait, so New Jersey, New York, and what was the last one?
New Hampshire. The second one, New Hampshire, West Virginia, and Virginia.
It's definitely not that one, because West Virginia broke off from Virginia during the United States Civil War because they did not sympathize with the South in certain parts of West Virginia. That's how we got that state. So that's definitely not it. So let's eliminate that one. First one's still in play.
Rhode Island, Florida, and Georgia.
Okay.
And the fourth one, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine.
All right. By process of elimination, the last one I know is not right either, because Maine was originally, I believe, part of Massachusetts and separated and became its own state after the United States was formed. So that's not it. So we had the news, Jersey, York, and Hampshire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one you said was Rhode Island and 2 southern states, right? Georgia and what?
Florida.
And Florida, you said?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the new states. I'm going to go with Jersey, New York, and Hampshire, because I do believe something tells me Florida was Spanish territory, and I'm not really sure that we had control of Florida when it was the U.S. colonies becoming the states. In fact, I'm almost certain we didn't have control of Florida. I think that was still Spanish territory. So all 3 of those other ones have some state in there that was not part of the original in some fashion or another for different reasons. So I'm going to go with the new states, the Jersey, the York, and the Hampshire on that one.
Okay. Question number 9. When was the Constitution written? Your options are 1776, 1787, 1789, and 1790.
This is going to be another guess. Because again, these are all, you didn't have one that was like 1983 in there somewheres? Because I'm sure someone probably would have answered it with that. It definitely wasn't 1776 because that was the Declaration of Independence. Constitution didn't come till well after the war was started and ended. 1790 feels late. What's the other two?
1787 and 1789.
Let's flip a coin. They both sound right. They both seem like they could be right. let's go with 87. That sounds right. It sounds more right than the other two that I knew weren't right. But honestly, 1789 sounds like it could be right too. If anyone got that one wrong out there, I can't blame you because that's pretty close. I'll go with 1787.
Okay. Question 10. During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States?
Dying and nuclear holocaust. That's not an answer?
That's not an option.
Okay.
Slavery, climate change,
okay,
the Great Depression, or communism.
Did I actually hear slavery and climate change as the first two that you gave me?
They are.
Who's answering these things? People are answering these
Your
questions?
neighbors.
My neighbors? Oh my God. I'm going to go with communism for 500, Alex. Come on now. Russians. Did anyone watch a James Bond movie that answered the questions on this quiz? Oh my God. You don't even need to know history. Just have TNT.
Well, the Russians are now our friends. Putin's a good guy.
Oh my God.
Now people, that's all they know is what's, they don't realize that Russia is our enemy, but whatever. Okay, you're halfway done. So let's continue.
Okay. Do you have any idea how I'm scoring so
do.
far? You do?
I do.
Okay.
I'm not going to share with you, but I do know how you're scoring.
Okay. Okay.
Question 11. Who said, "Give me liberty or give me death"? Do you need the answer? I mean, I knew this one without even the person being named, but I'll give you the 4 names.
I think I know.
Okay.
And I'll make the joke now. Was it Patrick Ewing? Or was that give me better players and a championship or give me death?
It was Travis Henry.
It was Travis Henry who said, give me some birth control so I stop having all these kids.
Give me babies or give me death.
Yeah, I think it's Patrick Henry, but let me hear the choices just to make sure that I'm not just making a joke at my own expense here.
Your options are Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Patrick Henry, and Thomas Jefferson.
I'm sticking with Patrick Henry. That's a famous quote. I mean, that's like one of the most famous quotes, and it's used all the time in speech in various fashions. It's referenced.
It is the state motto of New Hampshire.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the state's motto. So, yeah.
It's on their flag and it's on their license plates.
Well, God, I hope the people from New Hampshire got that question right, if that's the correct answer.
Okay, you better get this one right. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803?
That's the Louisiana Purchase. You're right. I better get that one right. Tell me, people from this state got that one wrong?
Well,
obviously they did.
Well, somebody must have.
To be fair, the United States acquired a lot of territory over the years in the expansionists to the coast. So, that was a big get, but maybe what were the other options here? Because maybe that might be relevant.
They weren't.
They weren't. Okay.
Alaska.
Okay. Alaska, which we purchased from the Russians in what was originally called Seward's Folly. Because
Correct.
It was supposedly such a terrible deal for us. Little did we know they had so much oil reserves in Alaska. So that one worked out, pretty well. What were the other two?
Hawaii and Puerto Rico.
I don't know when we acquired Hawaii, but it was a lot after 1803, and it certainly wasn't from France. And
I want to say it was the 1850s that we got Hawaii.
And Puerto Rico, my guess is also didn't come from France. I'm just going out on a limb there. That's not really a French-sounding. We have a lot of French-sounding names. I was just talking with someone at work last night about that. And they were speaking about how people mispronounce names of streets down here when they're tourists, but you can't really fault them for them. If you're not from down here, you might not necessarily, know how to say, let's say, Chapatoulas, right? Which is a lot of consonants strung together, and people will stumble over trying to figure out how to pronounce it. But if you're of French descent or you're of native descent down here, you know how to say that, right? Puerto Rico doesn't exactly sound like that's French descent, does it?
Having lived down there, they also have some really messed up ways of pronouncing some street names. It's not Carondelet Street, it's Carondelet down there.
Even though you would think it would be,
And not only that, when I lived on the West Bank, I lived in Algiers Point, and there's a street that is pronounced Socrates. It's actually Socrates, but they pronounce it Socrates.
I've seen that street. I would want to say Socrates, exactly.
Right. When you came to my house, you'd have to come down Socrates Street. Yeah, so let's not talk about Louisianans and their pronunciation of street names, because that's not really going to improve the general
perception,
public's perception of the intelligence of the people down there.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
I'm not sure my answers are helping. I think I'm doing okay, but like I said, I feel reasonably confident so far. So,
question 13. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Your options are Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and James Madison.
It wasn't Washington. And it wasn't Lincoln, you said, right?
That's what I said. Yep.
Those are obvious.
Yep.
Madison was very important in the founding of our country. And he was president, I do believe. He did not write the Declaration, though. That is Thomas Jefferson.
And James Madison's wife also made some tasty snacks.
She did. Dolly Madison, yes. James Madison actually was president during one of the very, very few, if not the only, invasion of a foreign force on American soil in the War of 1812. And when the British invaded Washington, and Dolly Madison was very integral in getting away a lot of the artifacts and different paintings and works of art and things that were in the White House before the British burned it to the ground. So, kudos to Dolly for doing her part to save some American history there. Jefferson gets the nod for Declaration of Independence. That is one of his many contributions to American history. I think. I'm pretty sure.
Question number 14. What did Susan B. Anthony do? Made the first flag of the United States, fought for women's rights, was the first woman elected to the House of Representatives, or founded the Red Cross?
First flag of the U.S. was Betsy Ross, I believe. So she didn't do that. She was not the first woman elected to the House of Representatives. I can't say that I know who it is, but it wasn't her. I know it's not her with the Red Cross, and that's a name that's right on the tip of my tongue, and I cannot remember, God, who founded the Red... I want to say Florence Nightingale, but that feels like that's not the Red Cross founder. Feels like that's a movie thing.
Clara Barton.
Clara Barton, okay. I was going to say, I think she led the WNBA in scoring 3 years ago. That would have been my answer, except for the fought for women's rights part. That would also be the correct answer. So I'm going to go with that. That's kind of a general thing. Those other ones are all very specific, and that's very general. But Susan B. Anthony, also well known for being on a coin dollar that they tried to implement back. When was the coin dollar? It was in the 70s, I guess, the late 70s, the Susan B. Anthony dollar. That just never caught on because people did not want to carry dollar coins in their pockets. So despite all attempts, it just never made it. So that's what Susan B. Anthony, unfortunately, I think that's what she's more known for, is being on that coin dollar more than what she actually did to earn her way onto it. But
Well, it was her first, and then they tried it again with a Sacagawea dollar coin,
which had about as much success. Nobody uses it. That's just one of those things. People are resistant to change, and that's why we still have the penny, even though the penny really has no value other than it costs the U.S. government money to produce. And we probably should eliminate it and save money, but that would make sense. Why do that, right?
That's part of the problem with the dollar bill is they wear out too quickly. A coin lasts for 30 or 40 years in circulation. A dollar bill on average lasts a couple of years. Most other developed countries do not have dollar, or the equivalent in paper money. It's all in coin.
They have dollars and coins in other countries?
Like a euro. A euro in Europe is a coin. It's not paper. A single euro is a coin. It's actually worth more than $1.
Now, to be fair, in defense of the dollar bill as currency over either the $2 coins we've seen here or over coins in other countries, you can't stick a coin in a stripper's G-string, Stephen. You can a dollar bill. Not that I have any experience in that.
Strippers will argue that a 5 would work fine.
That is true. Presumably. I'm going off of hearsay on how that experience all works. So, no personal knowledge of any of that. Let's just move on then. Let's not dwell on strippers.
You're trying to say it's hard to make it rain with a roll of coins.
Well, you could make it rain, but you might knock out the stripper in the process. That'd be bad, right? That'd be terrible. That's like assault and battery then at that point, isn't it?
Or is the problem that it's hard to put another roll of coins in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me at the strip joint?
Moving on.
Moving on. Question 15.
Okay.
Who is not a writer of the Federalist Papers? This one's not the easiest, okay? Who is not a writer of the Federalist Papers? James Madison. Publius.
Wait, who?
Publius. Publius.
Who the hell is that? Did you make that up?
I didn't. That is one of the answers that is correct, not incorrect. Because there was certain essays as part of the Federalist Papers that were written under the pen name of Publius.
So he actually did write. So you actually gave me one of the correct answers. You've narrowed my choices. Because I'm telling you right now, I was ready to say him.
I got this right because I knew one of the people that was listed was definitely not part of it. Okay, so James Madison.
Madison, this guy, this one I've never heard of.
It's just anonymous. It's anonymous is who it is.
Okay.
Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson.
Okay, this one is tough.
Said if you went to Hamilton on Broadway, you would have known the answer.
I didn't see that.
Or if you read the book.
I'm going to go with Madison. And I don't think his wife wrote anything either. So I'm going to go with Madison.
Okay. Let me give you an easier one here. Question number 16. What countries did the United States fight in World War II?
Like all the countries we fought? Because, there were allies and proxies and so forth.
The three majors. The three major ones.
So wait, it's three? I have to give you three? That's correct? Okay. All right. Then I'll tell you who we fought. We fought Germany with obviously that Hitler guy at the helm. We fought Japan, who brought us into it by bombing Pearl Harbor, and we fought Italy, which was not either Germany or Japan, and Mussolini at the head of the Italian fascist regime. And Italy was basically the whipping boy for the Axis because they just really couldn't do anything on their own. They invaded and tended to get pushed back, and then Germany and Hitler's forces usually had to come to their rescue until they surrendered, and then the U.S. rolled right up through Italy. Anyone who's seen the movie Patton knows how that turned out. So the Axis, the main Axis powers that they said the world would revolve around, Germany, Japan, and Italy. I'm going with that. I don't even care what the other options are because they'll be wrong. Unless I lived in some alternate timeline, they will be wrong. What are the other options, just in case maybe I'm misremembering my history somehow or another?
One of your options is Japan, China, and Vietnam.
Okay, Vietnam, which didn't even exist in World War II, so that's not it.
I believe it was called French
Indochina.
Yeah, that's what it was. Austria, Hungary, Japan, and Germany.
Austria-Hungary, which was not even a country in World War II because it had broken up following World War I when it dissolved after they lost World War I. So there you go.
And your other option is Soviet Union, Germany, and Italy.
Which would have been potentially tricky, except for the obvious exclusion of Japan, because for a little while, the Soviet Union was allied with Germany. And even though the Allied forces never actually fought against the Soviets, they had the Soviet Axis Pact that was signed right before the invasion of Poland in 1939 that basically was a secret. It had an official non-aggression pact between the Soviet Union and Germany, which really alarmed the West because that kind of signaled that Hitler was going to be able to fight a one-front war, which he immediately screwed up by then invading the Soviet Union a few years later. But the secret part of that pact was the Soviets and Germany decided, you know what, everything that's in between, we're going to go ahead and partition off. And that was Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, nations that became Soviet republics. Soviet Union and Germany decided we're just going to draw a line right here and we're going to split it. So Soviet Union was briefly a German ally, but sort of a neutral, non-fighting one until they ended up obviously being invaded and becoming part of the Allies. So the last one a little trickier, but yeah, I'm sticking with Japan, Germany, and Italy. Let's move on. I'm feeling pretty good now. I'm feeling pretty decent here.
Question 17. Which of these is a U.S. territory? Cayman Islands, Haiti, Bermuda, or Guam?
This is also an easy one. That's going to be Guam.
Okay. Question 18. For what is Benjamin Franklin famous?
I know. Wait, don't even give me the don't even give me the answer. I already know. Flying a kite into a thunderstorm and banging a lot of ladies in Europe, right? Is that the answer?
Well,
he is famous for that. Isn't he? Those aren't options.
Let me give you the options.
All right.
Published the code of the U.S. Constitution, invented the light bulb, was a U.S. diplomat, or started the first universities?
Well, as a sort of a tangent off of one of the things I said, he had a lot of success with the ladies in Europe, so legend says, and that's because he was a U.S. diplomat and was an envoy overseas for the United States. So I'm going to go with the diplomat. And he did a lot of scoring while he was on the continent. Again, according to legend and lore. So I didn't see the Franklin. Wasn't there a Franklin movie on HBO with Paul Giamatti in it? Didn't he play Ben Franklin?
That was John Adams.
Oh, that was him playing John Adams. I'm mixing up my very famous American legends of historical nature here. So that slight mistake on my part there will not change my answer. I'm going to stick with diplomat. Moving on. What question are we on?
2 more questions.
2 more? All right.
19.
All right.
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
You don't even need to give me a multiple on this one. That would be 9 justices, because rulings that end up being narrow margins are always 5-4. So that's 9 justices on the court. Though there was a point in time where a president, and I think it may have been Franklin Roosevelt, attempted to add additional justices and wanted to add significant number of extra justices, and that got immediately shot down. It has been 9, I believe, through, unless there's vacancies, I believe, throughout the history of the Supreme Court. But definitely 9 currently.
And your final question. Who was president during the Great Depression and World War II?
Don't even need to give me one on this one either, because I actually answered this one, I think, earlier in the quiz, didn't I? I think one of the earlier questions was concerning the world wars and time periods and the like. And I think Franklin Roosevelt was a question or an answer for one of the earlier questions. And I mentioned he was president during World War II and during the Depression. And he was president for all of this because he's the only president to ever have been elected to more than 2 terms. The current amendment that limits a president to 2 terms was put in place after Roosevelt. Roosevelt was elected to his 3rd term in 1940, if my memory serves me correct. And one of the things he was running on was the idea that you don't want to really change leadership in the middle of a world war going on, even if we're not involved. And of course, shortly after that, we were involved, which means in 1944, when he got elected to a 4th term, again, I think I'm correct on this. He got elected to a 4th term in 1944. Again, part of the reasoning, you don't change leadership in the middle of a major world war. And then he didn't, unfortunately, get a chance to make it to the end of the war. He died, I believe, in March or April, I think, of 45. It was right before Germany surrendered. There's an excellent book called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which is a very, very in-depth look historically at the rise of Germany leading into the war, and lots of information that was rescued, amazingly not destroyed, but accounts from people that were there and on the inside, plus all these historical documents about what was going on behind the scenes in Germany during World War II. And they're to show you how just completely off the wall crazy the Nazi regime was. There was thought that Hitler always believed until the very end that it was Providence that was going to lead Germany to victory, that they were chosen to be victors in this war, despite the fact that everything was going against the Germans and the war was essentially lost. And they actually believed and celebrated in the bunker as they were being bombed by the Soviets that Roosevelt's death was going to somehow or another bring about a dissolution of the tenuous alliance between the Allies and the Soviets, and that in some fashion would somehow or another save Germany from being completely defeated, which less than a month later, or a month or so later, that was all but over and finished and done with. That's Franklin Roosevelt. I don't even need to hear the other choices. But for our listeners at home, what are those other choices that my fellow friends in Louisiana may have actually guessed incorrectly?
Your options are Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Woodrow Wilson.
Okay.
Or my favorite, George W. Bush.
Now, to be fair, the only excuse for naming one of those 3 would be that they did all preside over a war of some fashion. Lincoln during the Civil War, Bush during the Iraqi War, and Woodrow Wilson during World War I. We talked about earlier in the quiz. How you could think George W. Bush presided over World War II.
And the Great Depression.
The economy wasn't great during some of his tenure, but it was nowhere near what the Great Depression was. And again, World War II was, as Ron Burgundy would have said, kind of a big thing. So you think you would have kind of noticed that was going on during his presidency. Anyone who doesn't know Abraham Lincoln's story and is an American citizen should just be embarrassed. And again, Woodrow Wilson is probably the least known historically, I would assume, from people today, just because Bush is more recent and it's still alive. And obviously, you know of him from recent presidency. And Lincoln is arguably, we talked about a Mount Rushmore of bad NFL coaches the other day. We have a literal Mount Rushmore this is based on. Lincoln's one of the guys on it, right? He's universally, I believe, looked upon from historians as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, American president in history. He certainly, if you had to name a top 5, is in the top 5. He probably is in your top 3. And like I said, for a lot of people, he's number 1. There's a reason he's on currency, right? He's on coins and he's on bills. He's a presidential icon. He is one of the greatest American leaders of all time. And how could you not know when he served or what he presided over? Is just astounding. I mean, I said some of these answers were going to be, that's what's weird about this test. Some of these were actually kind of tough. Some of the ones with the years and, that one with the Federalist Papers, and there's some other ones. There's some that are pretty tough, but something like this is actually pretty easy if you just use common sense and deduction. You could eliminate 2 right off the bat, and you at least have a 50-50 chance of guessing it right between Wilson and Roosevelt, even if you didn't know your history that well, right?
You don't get out much, do you?
I don't get out much? I do.
Have you talked to people recently?
I do.
You're dumb. You ranted last week. Ranted about people at your table betting when you went to the casino.
I did.
And that person is not a rarity. That person is not like, wow, that's some unicorn. That is America right there. That is what America has become. America has become dumb and self-centered. And if they don't read about it on Twitter, it didn't happen.
I was going to say, you said something beforehand. It's like, why do I have a feeling if the questions had been like, how many Kardashians are there? They would have gotten it right. Because that's what matters. That's what people care about. That's what they're enthralled by. But what's the famous saying? People who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. How well do I know my past, or at least my American history? Give me the good news or the bad news. I think I did pretty well. There's a few I was iffy on, but I think I did pretty well on it. So
you have received a score of 90%, which means you passed. You got 2 questions wrong.
Okay. That's an A.
90 is an A. That is an A. The 2 questions you got incorrect were, how many amendments does the U.S. Constitution have? You said 26. There's actually 27.
Oh.
So you're very close. And again, it's not something, I don't even think you can name what the 27th Amendment is.
What is the 27th Amendment? Are you looking it up?
The 27th Amendment is not as old as you think it is.
Okay.
1992.
Okay.
In our lifetime. Relatively recently.
Okay.
I'm going to read it to you. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. I have no idea what that means. I think what it means is our senators and representatives are completely overpaid.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Exactly. That sounded like language that basically is a way to protect a senator or representative from having their pay cut. That's what it sounds like. Even if it's not, it sounds like a useless amendment. So, okay, well, I got that one wrong. What was the other one I got wrong?
You got the Federalist Papers one wrong.
Even with getting one of them knocked out for me, and you basically hinting or telling me the other one, I still got it wrong. So what did I say?
You said James Madison, but James Madison was a writer of the Federalist Papers. Thomas Jefferson was not. And again, if you had seen the play or read the book that Ron Chernoff wrote, you would have known that. So
Hamilton, right? Only thing I know about Alexander Hamilton definitely is that he wasn't as good a shot as Aaron Burr was. Too soon?
But they both are dead.
They are both dead. That is true. One a little sooner than he wanted to be.
Both of them are buried within a stone's throw of me, too.
Were they buried with the guns they shot at each other with? Guessing no.
Aaron Burr is buried in Princeton, and Alexander Hamilton, I believe, is buried in Weehawken, New Jersey, which is right near where he actually was shot.
For anyone who thinks that politically things are bad in this country, whenever it comes to discord or dissension and all that, I want to point out that Aaron Burr was the vice president of the United States when he entered into an illegal duel with Alexander Hamilton and shot him to death. You read about it, and the comment here is, well, it ended Burr's political career. Well, it kind of ended Hamilton's too, didn't it? If you think it's bad, they were literally shooting at each other. Not verbal shots, literal guns. That's rough, isn't it? That was our vice president at the time. That's pretty harsh. And this isn't like Dick Cheney accidentally shooting somebody. Well, purportedly accidentally, right? This is literally, I'm going there to try to kill you or settle my grievances. I mean, I don't know. Duels are no longer obviously legal in the U.S., and they were illegal at the time where they did it or how they did it in some fashion. But there's actually controversy about how that duel turned out. Burr, I guess, or people who defend him say that it was an accident, that he didn't actually mean to shoot, because apparently when you did duels, you could kind of shoot in the air. Like, I'm not aiming at you.
Which is what Hamilton did.
But Burr apparently did not. Or if he did, he was even a worse shot than Hamilton was. So, but in any case, that was a standing vice president, a in-office vice president, shooting a man to death during a duel. So whenever you think it's bad, it can always get worse. Maybe that's the lesson there. So did I redeem the state of Louisiana?
Well, I don't know that you can really do that, but you proved your own worth. But I've met a lot of people from Louisiana. You're one of the smartest I've met in Louisiana. And we know a lot of people in Louisiana who aren't that smart. So I'm guessing I know some of the people who are getting about a 28.
I have a feeling I've run into a few of the people who may be getting the 28. I wouldn't be surprised. So,
and it's not any of our listeners.
No,
let me just make that clear. Any of our listeners in Louisiana, I have 100% confidence that you would pass this test with flying colors.
And I'll say anyone listening to our show will obviously be smart enough to have been able to have passed this quiz. We're not talking about any of you. And if by chance anyone listening to this has learned something today, well, then you're like Kyle and Stan from South Park. We've learned something today. And we've learned a little bit about American history, which is very appropriate since we're celebrating a President's Day. So that seems like a good place to call it. What do you think?
I agree. I can't believe that wasted a whole hour, but somehow we took a freaking quiz rather. And
educational hour. A little education has never hurt anybody, right? Well, that we know of. A lack of education is probably hurting people.
We're doing our best to educate America on this podcast.
One listener at a time. All right. It sounds like a good time to call it then. We will be back later in the week. We're going to be looking at some other news. We have some lingering NFL stuff going on. The Colin Kaepernick settlement will be something that we'll probably be talking about. We have some 30-year anniversary podcasts coming up. The year 1989 was a amazing year. Lots of tremendous things that went on that year, more so than your typical year. And we're going to talk about that. And then a host of other odd and end tidbits that are going to be of note. Hopefully you'll join us, Stephen, if you want to take us out.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you later in the week.
Thank you for listening to the Excruciating Minutiae Podcast. Check us out at excruciatingpodcast.com. Please subscribe to our podcast on any of your favorite podcast platforms and follow us on Twitter at excruciatingpod. See you at the next episode.